$75,000 per year. This is the figure often cited as the threshold beyond which more money won't bring you additional happiness. This is largely due to a 2010 study that has been widely misquoted, conducted by Kahneman and Angus Deaton. Since the publication of this study, various media outlets have perpetuated the idea that conveniently aligns with other cliches such as money can't buy happiness and money is the root of all evil and more money, more problems. However, the issue is that this is not entirely accurate. Welcome to Moneymaker. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking and subscribing. The first clue for anyone misquoting this study should be in the title of the study itself. High income improves life evaluation but not emotional well-being. In plain English, this means that higher income doesn't necessarily equate to higher levels of well-being. However, in the long term, people generally have a more positive outlook on life. This phenomenon is most likely explained by the psychological theory of the hedonic treadmill. The hedonic treadmill is the observed tendency of humans to return to a relatively stable level of happiness despite major life changes, whether positive or negative. To put it this way, if you win the lottery, you will likely be ecstatic. But over time, as you use your card more and more, the novelty of the situation will wear off. This is not due to entitlement. It's just human nature. This is now your new normal. The same effect happens in reverse. If you get fired tomorrow, you will undoubtedly experience a drop in happiness. But after you break the news to your friends and family and find a new job, you will eventually return to a relatively stable level of happiness. Another clue for anyone misquoting this study should be in the title of the study itself. Another major component that most people overlook is the process by which these researchers arrived at their conclusion. The study was conducted on 709,000 households, which were asked to provide details about their income and then answer questions related to human happiness. Questions like, how often do you feel stressed? How do you think your life will look in 5 years? How often do you smile? Their answers then produced a score on the Cantrell ladder, which is the general ranking system rating people from hopeless and depressed to thriving and prosperous. What was interesting is that the study suggested that the USA, where this study was conducted, actually performed very well in day-to-day indicators like smiling, laughing, and enjoying activities, but performed poorly in long-term indicators like stress, where the country ranked 5th out of 151 other countries where similar studies had been conducted. Overall, however, the 709,000 households did quite well, with an average Cantrell score of 6.76 out of 10. This places it in 9th place among all studied countries, only behind Scandinavia, Canada, Switzerland, and New Zealand. So don't worry, the American spirit is alive and well. But unfortunately, here's where most people go wrong. More income did noticeably increase long-term happiness indicators in the households studied. It just didn't have much impact on short-term indicators due to our old friend, the hedonic treadmill. $75,000 per year is generally the point beyond which additional income doesn't significantly impact happiness. However, it may still be a limiting factor for more long-term goals such as buying a house, getting out of debt, retiring early, or even going on a nice vacation. Or at least that's the much oversimplified, but more accurate, conclusion. Furthermore, most people quoting this study still ignore two other major problems with this number, the variables and the timing. In general, scientific experiments involve variables. The dependent variable here is the short-term and long-term happiness of a household. The independent variable is the total annual household income. However, to have a direct correlation in a perfect study, other variables must be controlled. This study assumes that all households function exactly the same, which is obviously not true. For a young single person with a low cost of living and no student loan debt, $75,000 per year would actually be quite comfortable. However, for a family of 5 paying off a mortgage and student loans, this income would be entirely inadequate. Another factor that people often overlook is the timing of the study. The results were published 11 years ago, and since then, due to inflation, $75,000 per year is now around $90,000 per year, which seems like a much higher benchmark for day-to-day happiness. Another issue with quoting figures from 11 years ago, especially regarding people's finances, is the global financial crisis. In 2008 and 2009, while this data was being collected, people were experiencing widespread layoffs, stock market drops, and foreclosures, particularly affecting the aspirational middle class. Controlling for these unusual conditions means that most households would generally have more day-to-day satisfaction because they wouldn't be suffering from seeing their accumulated wealth disappear. This is one of the problems that lower-income households don't face. You can't lose wealth if you've never had it in the first place. Unfortunately, this figure has embedded itself into public consciousness and actually causes a lot of harm. In a more recent study on the same issue, researchers found a significant drop in the same happiness metrics among households earning more than $75,000 per year. A significant factor in this strange anomaly was that people believed they had reached peak happiness, while the reality was quite different. So, the question is, how can you ensure that you're not losing money? How much money do you need to maximize happiness? And the answer is, more. While this may seem like the most unsatisfying answer, it's about as accurate as it gets. Findings from all similar studies on this issue show that overall happiness increases with higher income, while negative emotions decrease at the same rate without reaching a plateau at a specific income level. However, there is a logarithmic relationship leading to diminishing returns of $5,000 per year, and the answer is, every additional dollar. This means that if someone goes from an income level of $25,000 per year to $50,000 per year, their happiness metrics might increase by 50%. If someone adds the same $25,000 pay raise to a salary of $250,000, the impact would be much less significant. Instead, they would need to increase their salary by $250,000 per year to achieve the same increase in happiness as a low-income household. Happiness grows with proportional increases in income, not nominal increases. So, another reason you need more income to be happy is that people tend to be more satisfied if they receive consistent, predictable increases in their income through pay raises, promotions, or business growth. A steady upward trajectory from a modest income is much more mentally satisfying than income that is stagnant or declining, even if it was several times larger to begin with. It makes sense. A constant supply of small rewards keeps the happy brain chemicals flowing. The final thing to understand about this headline is how the data actually works. When researchers analyze the data, they look for more than just a simple correlation. They also examine how significant the data is or how much of the outcome is explained by the relationship between what they were studying. In this case, it's the relationship between happiness and income, as opposed to the millions of other factors that contribute to happiness. The researchers of the original paper found that this relationship accounted for about 37% of the expected variance, which is a significant amount. So, if you look at the data, you'll see that 63% of people's happiness was determined by other factors. These other factors include things like health, meaningful relationships with family and friends, and even issues with a negative relationship with income like work-life balance. The takeaway is that someone with a modest income could be happier than a very wealthy person who is unhealthy, lonely, and constantly stressed from work they can't separate themselves from. But what do you think? How much money is enough for happiness?